The best means you have of actually doing a good conditioning process is not what a lot of people would imagine, which would be storing the reed carefully in stable conditions, with all kinds of dampits and humidity control things and all that stuff. No, the means you have are primarily your own. It has more to do with you than the reed itself, or even any storage methods that you might use, or any kind of humidity, things like that. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. The two things that you need to do is right at the very beginning of the conditioning process is balance the reed extremely well. Balance it well at first. All the playing, all the mollycoddling, all the storage methods and all that in the world will not balance an unbalanced reed. They will remain unbalanced. And if you try to play them in an unbalanced fashion, they will hurt you. You will cut your lip. You know how miserable it is to play the fresh reed out of the box that's unbalanced and to play it for a while. Anyway, they will hurt you, and they'll also destroy the structure of the reed, because the reed will be being forced by your playing, by your embouchure techniques and air techniques, to actually work on the mouthpiece in a way that's contrary to the structural condition it's in at that point. So if you balance the reed, then when the reed vibrates on the mouthpiece, it's going to be vibrating much more congruently it's going to be vibrating congruently with the structural design that you have put into the reed to balance it well. The reason we balance it well is to make it structurally work well on the mouthpiece without tearing the fibers of the reed up. Okay? So the first thing is balance the reed really well. Now people will say, gee, my reeds change a lot. Well, if you balance them really well, they're not going to change a lot on you after you balance them. All right? There's one thing that will cause them to do that, and that is another thing that is in your control. You must learn to play the clarinet without biting. If you're biting, you will destroy the reed. You won't even be able to take advantage of the best balanced reed and the best cane in the world. So those two things, balance the reed out of the box so that it's very, very finely balanced. And then play it. Don't worry, play it 5, 10, 20 minutes, doesn't matter. But play it. But play without biting. And the balanced reed, of course, will facilitate your efforts in playing without biting. If you try to play an unbalanced reed out of the box and break it in, it will force you to bite to make it respond. And that is the process of breaking it down, not breaking it in.
Ooh, that's terrible.
Not conditioning it, you're deconditioning it and destroying it structurally and materially while you're at it.
Yourself. Be quiet. Be quiet.
Another thing I like to do is take a reed that, say, I've just played, and just wipe it off very lightly with my fingers, place it back on the mouthpiece, and put the ligature on, but don't tighten it down really tight. Put the cap back on it and drop it in a plastic bag, and just leave the reed on the mouthpiece. Leave it overnight, leave it for a while, let the reed and the mouthpiece become friends, so to speak. And that reed will sit flat on the mouthpiece table and function much better and seal much better. At least that's been my experience. But that's not nearly as important as balancing at first and then playing without biting. If the reed changes at all, you can rebalance it. Now, what if a reed actually warps? If that flat table, the flat part of the reed sitting on the table of the mouthpiece actually warps so the reed rocks back and forth? Well, throw it away. There are a lot more reeds in the world. Harold Wright used to say, if a reed's going to warp, it's going to warp. And if it warped on him, he threw it away. Now, by warpage, I don't mean that it ceases becoming machine-like flat, machine quality flat. It will never be that way in the first place. By warpage, I mean that it begins swelling in the middle and rocking side to side and not sealing properly on the mouthpiece facing. So then just throw it away, because if you sand it, you'll probably ruin it, and even if you get it flat, it's probably going to warp again. So that's the nature of the thing. Most of the reeds that don't warp, that is, that don't, don't warp to the degree that they begin to leak on the mouthpiece and really affect the performance of it, those reeds remain stable forever, as long as I don't go crazy wetting the reed and cause that flat table to swell and make it undergo a bunch of changes. So just try to keep that stable while you're playing it, and while the vibrating part of the reed is really the most moist part. And you should be fine and dandy. Beyond those two major things, there are a few other things that you can do. Of course, you want to store the reed on a nice flat surface. Dry it off with your fingers. Don't worry about fanatically sealing it. And for heaven's sakes, don't worry about sanding it flat. The reed is not going to work flat. That's all, because it has to bend and flex in order to work properly. So it's not going to end up like machine quality flat. Don't worry about that. The reed just has to sit flat on the flat table of the mouthpiece. And in a previous video, a recent video, I've talked about that and talked about how that's done and how I avoid warpage. Of course, in bad weather, you should, like extremely dry weather or something like that, it probably is a good idea to keep the reeds in storage with some kind of humidity stability. But believe me, the humidity and all that stuff alone will do nothing to improve badly balanced reeds. And they'll do nothing to make a reed last longer if you're playing with the Captain Crunch embouchure school, okay? It's just not going to happen. So anyway, the main thing in getting your reeds to last, to be durable, and to be consistent, to play with consistency, is that you have a right view of what's really, really important to do and what really is of secondary importance. Most of the reed instruction that I ever got stressed all these things that they were beneficial at all. They were secondarily so. They skipped the essential parts of really fine balancing the reeds. And if you're frustrated and you have a hard time balancing reeds, or you don't know how, I'd really recommend that you look at my ATG system. It's inexpensive, and it's by far the largest selling reed finishing system in the world, and the easiest to use. If you haven't seen already, I've got a few videos here where I actually finish some reeds that won't make a sound very quickly blindfolded. And if an old guy like me can do that blindfolded, surely you young whippersnappers can balance reeds really well when you got your eyes wide open. Okay?
I don't know about
So those are some tips about so-called conditioning a reed. Let's say conditioning the reed. Let's get it out of our mind. We're going to be breaking the reed in, okay? Because that's, I don't know, just breaking. Not good. Hey, listen, subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Visit our website. We've got a bunch of stuff on there. If you haven't seen it before, it's all devoted to the clarinet. And I think there's a lot of valuable information there, and also a lot of valuable products that are going to help you play better and play more easily and have a lot of fun doing so. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.